Alan Carter stood by the window of his office on Council Prime. The 3 moons hung in the purple sky, their light making the alien city glow. After 8 years as Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council, he still found the view beautiful. Too bad the politics were so ugly. He straightened his simple blue uniform and checked the time. The council session would start in 30 minutes. Today would change everything. "Ambassador, your security team is ready," said Susan Reyes as she entered the room. As Earth's military attaché, she always looked serious, but today her face showed extra concern. "You don't have to do this, sir," she said quietly. "We could try one more round of talks." Alan shook his head. 50 years of talks, 50 years of being ignored. "The decision is made, Susan." She nodded and handed him a small device. "Earth Command confirmed. Operation Ascension is ready. Once you press this, there's no going back." Alan slipped the device into his pocket. "Let's go meet the council." The council chamber was enormous. 300 different alien species had seats in the great circular room. Humans, being relatively new to galactic politics, had seats near the back. The powerful Zeltari Imperium and their closest allies occupied the front rows. As Alan walked to his seat, he noticed the usual cold stares. Most council races viewed humans as primitive upstarts, too emotional, too unpredictable, too dangerous to be given real power. The Zeltari ambassador, Rector, was already speaking. His scale-covered face appeared on giant screens around the chamber. "The motion before the council is simple. The 17 star systems in the Orion sector will be placed under Zeltari protection and development. The human request for expansion, rights to these systems, is denied." Alan watched as the voting began. The outcome was never in doubt. One by one, the council races sided with the Zeltari. A few abstained. None supported Earth. When the vote was complete, Rector looked directly at the human delegation. Additionally, the council approves the containment measure. Human expansion is now officially limited to their current systems plus the 3 systems previously granted. This is for the stability of the galactic community. Susan leaned close to Alan. "That's it then. They've boxed us in completely." The council leader, a tall, willowy being named Shax, called for any final statements before the session ended. This was the moment. Alan stood and walked slowly to the center of the chamber. Murmurs of surprise spread through the council. Humans rarely spoke during full sessions anymore. "Ambassador Carter," said Shax with obvious annoyance, "the vote is complete. Your statement will be noted in the record, but the decision stands." Alan nodded. "I understand. I'm not here to dispute the vote. I'm here to inform the council of Earth's response." The chamber grew quiet. Alan took a deep breath. For 50 years, humanity has been part of this council. For 50 years, we have shared our science, our art, our unique human perspective. For 50 years, we have respected your rules, followed your restrictions, and tried to be good galactic citizens. Alan looked around the room, making eye contact with as many delegates as possible. And for 50 years, we have been met with contempt disguised as tolerance, our requests denied, our concerns dismissed, our people treated as second-class members of this community. The Zeltari ambassador laughed loudly. "Perhaps if humans were not so aggressive and unpredictable, you would be trusted with more responsibility." Alan smiled. "That's exactly the point, Rector. You have never tried to understand us, you have only tried to control us." He pulled the small device from his pocket. "By unanimous vote of Earth's government, and with the full support of all 27 human worlds, I hereby announce humanity's complete withdrawal from the Galactic Council and all associated treaties. Effective immediately." The chamber erupted in noise. Some delegates jumped to their feet. Others shouted questions. Shax banged his ceremonial staff for order. "This is highly irregular. There are procedures for withdrawal, which we have followed," Alan replied calmly. "The official documentation has been transmitted to your offices. All human citizens have been advised to return to human space within the next 3 months. All council facilities in human territory must be vacated within 30 days. Rector pushed his way to the center of the chamber. "This is a childish tantrum. You cannot simply walk away from the council." "Actually, we can," Alan said. There is nothing in the charter that forces membership. We joined voluntarily. We leave the same way. He turned to address the entire council. Humanity is not leaving in anger. We leave in disappointment. We hoped for partnership. We found only restrictions. We hoped for respect. We found only suspicion. Susan joined Alan in the center of the chamber, along with the 10 other members of the human delegation. What do you hope to achieve? Asked Shax, genuine confusion in his voice. Alone, cut off from council trade and protection, how will you survive? Alan pressed the button on the device. A soft chime confirmed his action. Somewhere, 30 light-years away, Earth Command was receiving the signal. Ascension had begun. We'll survive the same way humans always have, Alan said simply, by relying on ourselves. With that, the entire human delegation turned and walked toward the exit. The great doors of the council chamber slid open before them. This is not a negotiating tactic, Alan called over his shoulder. This is goodbye. As they boarded their ship, Susan opened a secure channel to Earth Command. Her message was simple. Ascension confirmed. Phase 1 complete. The council watched the human ship depart from Council Prime. Most representatives assumed this was temporary. Dramatics. Humans were known for their emotions, after all. They would calm down and return, perhaps with slightly better terms. Only the oldest council members felt a sense of worry. They remembered the history of this young species, how quickly they had advanced, how creatively they solved problems, how fiercely they fought when cornered. As the human ship vanished into faster-than-light travel, Rector laughed again. Good riddance, he said to the council leader. They were always more trouble than they were worth. Shax wasn't so sure. For the first time in his 300-year life, he felt something new, something uncomfortable. Fear. 3 months passed since humanity's dramatic exit from the Galactic Council. Throughout council space, a strange thing was happening. Humans were disappearing. Jack Wyatt stood on the bridge of the EDF Relentless, Earth's largest battleship. Through the viewscreen, he watched as civilian transport ships entered the protective formation his fleet had created. Status report, he said to his second-in-command. The mining colony on Proxima B is fully evacuated, sir, replied Commander Maria Lopez. This is the last group. Once they're safely away, we can proceed to the next checkpoint. Jack nodded. Similar operations were happening across council space. Trading posts closed without explanation. Research stations shut down. Tourist facilities emptied out. All humans returning to the safety of their 27 systems. Any council ships in the area? Jack asked. Just observers, sir. 3 Zeltari cruisers at the edge of the system. They're keeping their distance. Jack smiled slightly. The council was confused by humanity's actions. They expected protests, negotiations, maybe even threats. Instead, they got this silent, organized withdrawal. Send the usual message if they try to communicate, Jack said. The usual message was simple. We have no hostile intentions. We are simply going home. Across the galaxy, the council was beginning to worry. Not openly, of course. Officially, human withdrawal was described as a minor economic inconvenience. The Zeltari ambassador Rector even joked about it in council sessions. Let the humans hide in their little corner of the galaxy, he said to applause and laughter. They will come crawling back when they realize how much they need us. But behind closed doors, concerns grew. Humans had been deeply integrated into galactic society. Their absence was creating problems. On Council Prime, the diplomatic hub world, Patricia Morris packed her office. As Earth's last official diplomat, she had one final duty to perform. The Council's Foreign Affairs Committee had requested this meeting. 5 senior representatives entered her nearly empty office and took seats. Thank you for coming, Patricia said politely. I have Earth's final communication to deliver. She handed each representative a data pad. This is formal notification that all Council observation posts, research facilities, and diplomatic missions in human space must be vacated within 30 days from today. The Merlani representative, a small amphibian-like being, looked shocked. This is highly unusual. The Council has maintained facilities in all member territories for centuries. We are no longer members, Patricia reminded her gently. The Zeltari representative threw his data pad on the desk. And if we refuse? Patricia's expression didn't change. After that time, any Council vessels or personnel found in human territory will be considered hostile intruders. Is that a threat? The Zeltari demanded. No, it's a boundary. We're setting it clearly to avoid any misunderstandings. The eldest representative, a gas-filled being contained in a transparent environmental suit, spoke in a wheezing voice. Young one, please help us understand. What does humanity hope to achieve with this isolation? What do you want? Patricia looked at him with genuine sadness. That's just it. For 50 years, we told you what we wanted. Equal treatment, respect for our sovereignty, the right to grow and develop in our own way. You never listened. She stood, indicating the meeting was over. This isn't a negotiating tactic. We've given up on negotiating. We're simply leaving. 2 days later, Patricia boarded the last human diplomatic vessel to leave Council Prime. As the ship broke orbit, she felt a mix of sadness and anticipation. Phase 2 of Operation Ascension was about to begin. The Council, increasingly concerned about the human withdrawal, voted to establish a monitoring zone along the borders of human space. In reality, it was a blockade. Over 500 ships, mostly Zeltari, took position. Their orders were to observe and report any unusual activity. On the flagship, Admiral Kraxel of the Zeltari Imperial Navy watched the sensor displays with satisfaction. Let's see them try anything now, he said to his officers. If they want to return to Council space, they'll have to beg for permission. The last human ships approached the border. The blockade ships moved closer, making their presence known. A message came from Admiral Kraxel's vessel. Attention human vessels. Be advised that your return to Council space will require approval. Submit your request and prepare for boarding and inspection. Aboard the human ship, Defiant, Captain Steve Rogers received the message and smiled. Right on schedule, he said to his crew. Send the response. The message was simple. We have no intention of returning. Please maintain safe distance. As the human vessels crossed into their territory, every ship simultaneously emitted a powerful energy pulse. The pulse raced outward, washing over the blockade ships. On the Zeltari flagship, alarms sounded. What's happening? Demanded Admiral Kraxel. All our monitoring devices along the border are gone, reported a technician. Completely destroyed. What about our communication relays? Also destroyed. We can't send signals into human space anymore. The Admiral slammed his fist on a console. What kind of weapon is this? It wasn't a weapon at all. It was a massive electromagnetic pulse, carefully designed to destroy only observation and communication technology. No one was hurt. Nothing was damaged except the Council's ability to spy on human space. Then came the silence. Complete communications blackout. No transmissions coming from human systems. No responses to Council signals. Human space became a black hole in the Galactic Communication Network. In an emergency Council session, military experts offered reassurances. This is a primitive attempt at isolation, said one Zeltari general. They're trying to hide whatever they're doing, but we have other ways to monitor them. The Council authorized probe ships to enter human space. None returned. They simply disappeared after crossing the border. Rumors spread among the border worlds. Strange lights seen in human systems. Massive energy signatures detected. Then nothing. Some claimed the humans were destroying themselves in a civil war. Others whispered they were building something terrible. The truth was far more significant. Behind the communications blackout, humanity worked around the clock. Factories that had been dormant for decades activated. Research facilities that had never been reported to the Council began full production. Military bases expanded. On Earth, President Howard Patel addressed the combined leadership of all human worlds. For 50 years we held back, he said. We showed the council only what we wanted them to see. They thought us weak and primitive. They never realized we were simply being cautious. He activated a large display showing the progress of Operation Ascension. The Veil will be ready in 3 months, our defensive systems in 6. By then, the council will have made their decision, leave us alone, or learn why that would be wise. As he spoke, scientists across human space worked on technologies the council couldn't imagine. Soldiers trained with weapons the council didn't know existed. Engineers built ships unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Humanity wasn't running away, they were preparing. Meanwhile, the Zeltari pushed for stronger action. In a closed session, Ambassador Rector presented a proposal. These humans have insulted the council. They've rejected our authority. I propose we reclaim their worlds for proper management by civilized species. The motion passed easily. The invasion fleet began to assemble. The council had no idea what they were about to face. 6 months had passed since humanity vanished behind their silent border. 6 months of growing concern among the council races. The probe ships sent to investigate human space never returned. The observation posts near the border detected strange energy patterns, then nothing. In the council chamber, the debates grew heated. They are clearly building weapons, insisted Rector, the Zeltari ambassador. Every day we wait gives them more time to prepare. Some council members were not convinced. We have no proof of hostile intent, said Shax, the council leader. Their withdrawal, while unusual, broke no laws. Rector's scales darkened with anger. They destroyed our monitoring equipment. They have captured or destroyed our probe ships. We don't know that, replied a Merlani representative. The ships could have malfunctioned. 27 ships? All malfunctioned? Rector laughed bitterly. Your fear of confrontation blinds you to the danger. Behind the communications blackout, humanity was indeed hard at work, but not in the way the council imagined. On Mars, Natalie Patel stood in the control center of the largest scientific installation ever built by human hands. Around her, hundreds of engineers and scientists monitored complex equipment. The air hummed with energy. Final system check complete, announced her assistant. The Veil is ready for full activation. Natalie took a deep breath. The Veil was her life's work, a revolutionary space-time manipulation system. Once activated, it would effectively remove human worlds from normal space, creating a pocket dimension that the Council's technology could not detect or penetrate. Begin the sequence, she ordered. Across human space, similar scenes played out. On distant moons and asteroids, manufacturing facilities that had remained dormant for decades sprang to life. These facilities had never been reported to the Council. Their existence was Earth's most closely guarded secret. In orbit around Jupiter, Greg Foster supervised the final assembly of ships unlike any the galaxy had seen. These vessels incorporated technologies humans had developed but kept hidden from the Council. How many will be ready for the demonstration? Asked President Howard Patel during their weekly video conference. 12 will be fully operational, Greg replied. More than enough. The president nodded. And if demonstration becomes confrontation, then the Council will learn a very painful lesson. On Earth's moon, General Laura Vasquez inspected the weapons being loaded onto the new ships. These were not the basic energy weapons the Council knew humans possessed. These were something else entirely. The gravitational disruptors are functioning perfectly, reported a technician. One shot can tear apart a cruiser-class vessel. Laura nodded, but her attention was on the next bay where technicians were installing the consciousness transfer pods. This technology allowed a single human pilot to control multiple drone ships simultaneously, one human mind directing dozens of fighters with human creativity and reaction time. For 50 years, she told her officers, we played nice. We held back. We showed them a fraction of what we could do. Why did we wait so long? Asked a young lieutenant. Hope, Laura replied simply. Hope that they would eventually accept us as equals. Back on Council Prime, the debate had ended. Rector's faction won. The Council voted to reclaim human worlds for proper management by civilized species. The invasion fleet would launch within days. Admiral Kraxel, the Zeltari's most decorated officer, was given command of the fleet. 500 ships gathered at the staging area, the largest military force assembled in a century. The humans had their chance to join galactic civilization properly, Kraxel told his officers. Their stubbornness has led to this. We will take their worlds quickly and with minimal damage. The Zeltari were confident. After all, in the technology they had seen, humans were at least a century behind the Council races. Their ships were slower, their weapons weaker, their shields basic. The invasion would be over in days. They had no idea what was waiting for them. In the White House on Earth, President Patel met with his Security Council. The invasion fleet has launched, reported the intelligence chief. 500 ships, mostly Zeltari. They will reach our border in 6 days. The president turned to Admiral Peter Kelly, the head of Earth's Defense Force. Are we ready? The Veil is fully operational, Peter replied. All 12 of our new ships are ready for deployment. The drone fighters are prepared. Our pilots have completed their final training in the consciousness transfer system. And the other systems? The gravitational weapons are installed and tested. The stealth technology is functioning perfectly. Our ships will be completely undetectable until we choose to reveal them. The president stood and walked to the window. Outside, people went about their daily lives, unaware of the approaching fleet. They knew about the withdrawal from the council, of course, but most thought it was just politics. Send the message to all human worlds, the president said. Operation Ascension enters its final phase. All civilians should proceed to the designated shelters, just in case. He turned back to his advisors. The council had 50 years to get to know us, 50 years to understand who we are. Instead, they dismissed us, restricted us, treated us like children. Now they'll see what humanity can really do. On the edge of human space, 12 ships moved into position. They were unlike traditional human vessels. Sleek, black, almost invisible against the darkness of space. They carried no external lights, no visible weapons. To most scanners, they would appear as shadows if they appeared at all. Captain Olivia Chen sat in the command chair of the lead ship. Defiant. All vessels report ready, Captain, said her first officer. Olivia nodded. Activate the Veil. Across human space, the Veil. Technology engaged. To outside observers, it would appear as if human systems simply blinked out of existence. The stars would still be visible, but the planets, the stations, the ships, all gone, hidden in a pocket of altered space-time. Only the 12 ships remained outside the Veil, waiting in the darkness. Now we wait, Olivia said. Let them come to us. 3 days later, the invasion fleet approached the former border of human space. Admiral Kraxel stood on the bridge of his flagship, confident in his overwhelming force. Proceed to Earth's solar system, he ordered. Maximum speed. As the fleet moved forward, the sensors showed nothing unusual. No border stations, no early warning systems. Empty space where vibrant human colonies should be. Where are they? Asked his second-in-command. Our intelligence said there were outposts here. Admiral Kraxel frowned. Continue as planned. They cannot hide an entire civilization. The fleet moved deeper into what had been human territory, completely unaware that 12 ships were shadowing them, watching, waiting for the perfect moment. The moment to show the Council exactly why humans had kept their true capabilities hidden for so long. Admiral Kraxel stood on the bridge of his flagship as the invasion fleet approached Earth's solar system. He felt uneasy. They had traveled through several systems that should have contained human colonies, but found nothing. No planets were missing. They were exactly where the star charts showed them. But all signs of human civilization had vanished. Perhaps they fled deeper into their territory, suggested his second-in-command. An entire species doesn't just vanish, Kraxel replied. Continue the advance, we will find them. The fleet of 500 ships moved in tight formation. They passed the orbit of a gas giant the humans called Neptune, then Uranus, then Saturn. Still nothing. No ships, no stations, no signs of life. This makes no sense, muttered the admiral. Our intelligence reports confirmed humans were preparing defenses. Where are they? As the fleet approached the orbit of Mars, reality itself seemed to ripple. Space warped in front of them like fabric being pulled aside. Suddenly, the human fleet was there. Just 12 ships. The Admiral stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. 12? They send 12 ships against our 500? He began to laugh. Their arrogance is even greater than I imagined. But there was something strange about these ships. They were unlike any human vessels the Council had seen before. Black, sleek, with no visible weapons or engines, they simply hung in space, facing the invasion fleet. "Destroy them," ordered Kraxel. "Show these humans the price of defiance." 100 Zeltari ships moved forward, weapons charging. They fired as one, a wall of energy that should have vaporized the small human fleet instantly. The energy blasts passed through empty space. The human ships were no longer where they had been. They had moved with impossible speed. "Where did they go?" demanded the Admiral. "Behind us," shouted the sensor officer. The 12 human vessels had somehow circled behind the entire fleet in seconds. Before the Zeltari ships could turn, the human vessels opened fire. There was no beam of light, no visible projectile. The Zeltari ships simply began to implode, crushed by forces that the sensors couldn't identify. "What weapon is this?" gasped the Admiral as he watched 20 of his ships collapse into twisted metal in mere seconds. Then a new sensor alert sounded. Thousands of small craft were pouring out from the 12 human ships, too many to have been carried inside them. These fighter-sized vessels moved with a speed and precision that defied belief. They weaved between the larger Council ships, avoiding defensive fire with ease. On board the human flagship Defiant, Captain Olivia Chen sat perfectly still in her command pod. Her eyes were closed, but her mind was fully active, connected through the consciousness transfer system to 50 drone fighters. She could see from each one simultaneously, control each one individually, yet coordinate their movements as a perfect unit. Around her, 20 other pilots did the same. 1,000 drone fighters operated by just 20 human minds. "Gravitational weapons at 20% power," she ordered with her physical voice. "Target their engines and weapons only. No crew sections unless absolutely necessary." The human drones darted between the massive Council ships, firing with surgical precision. Ships began to drift, their engines crushed by targeted gravitational pulses. Admiral Kraxel watched in horror as his fleet was systematically disabled. 100 ships destroyed in the first attack, 200 more drifting without power, and still the human vessels moved too fast to target, their weapons too powerful to defend against. "This is impossible," he whispered. "How could they hide this level of technology?" He opened a channel to all remaining ships. "Concentrate fire on their flagship. All remaining vessels. Target the lead human ship." 200 Zeltari ships fired. At once at the Defiant. The space around the human vessel lit up with energy beams and projectiles. Not a single shot hit. The Defiant seemed to blur, moving between the incoming fire as if it could predict every shot. In truth, it could. The ship's artificial intelligence analyzed the energy buildups in the Zeltari weapons and calculated their trajectories faster than organic minds could comprehend. "I think they've had enough of a demonstration," Olivia said to her crew. "Time to end this." The 12 human ships moved into a perfect circle formation. Energy began to build between them, visible as a web of blue lightning connecting each vessel. "What are they doing now?" asked the Zeltari second in command, fear in his voice. Before Admiral Kraxel could answer, the energy released. A wave of gravitational distortion spread outward. It didn't destroy the remaining Zeltari ships, it simply stopped them. Every vessel caught in the wave found its engines and weapon systems crushed beyond repair. In 30 minutes, the entire invasion fleet had been neutralized. 300 ships destroyed, 200 disabled and drifting. Not a single human ship showed even minor damage. Admiral Kraxel sat in his command chair, staring at the screens showing the utter defeat of his fleet. Then a message came through, on all channels. The face of Captain Olivia Chen appeared on his screen. "This demonstration is concluded," she said, her voice calm but firm. You have seen 1% of our military capability. We disabled your ships rather than destroying them all because we do not wish to cause unnecessary deaths. The Admiral found his voice. Who are you people? How did you hide this technology from the Council? We didn't hide it, Olivia replied. You simply never asked the right questions. For 50 years you assumed you knew everything about us. You were wrong. She paused, then continued. Rescue ships will be allowed to retrieve your crews. You will return to Council space. Tell them what you witnessed here today. Tell them that humanity wishes no conflict, but we will not be subjugated. The Admiral could only nod. This is your only warning, Olivia concluded. The next fleet that enters our space will not be shown the same mercy. The transmission ended. Moments later, the 12 human ships seemed to fade from view, becoming invisible to the Zeltari sensors. As rescue ships arrived from Council space, recordings of the battle spread quickly despite attempts to suppress them. Council races watched in shock as 12 human ships defeated 500 of the finest Zeltari vessels. On Council Prime, emergency sessions were called. The Zeltari demanded a larger fleet, better weapons, immediate action. But for the first time in centuries, other Council races openly defied them. We have seen what humans can do when provoked, said the Merlani representative. Are you insane enough to provoke them further? Fear spread through the Council. Not just fear of human technology, but fear of what they had almost done. They had nearly started a war with a species far more advanced than they had realized, and, somewhere beyond the veil, humanity watched and waited for the Council's next move. 3 years passed since the failed invasion of human space. 3 years of chaos in the Galactic Council. The recording of the battle had spread throughout the galaxy despite the Council's attempts to suppress it. Member species began questioning Council leadership. Many quietly reached out to humanity, seeking independent relationships. The Zeltari Imperium's influence had weakened significantly. Their military reputation was in ruins after their fleet's humiliating defeat. Other Council races no longer automatically supported their proposals. On Council Prime, a regular session was about to begin. Representatives from 300 species filled the Great Chamber. The Zeltari ambassador Rector still occupied his prominent position, but his once confident demeanor was gone. As Shax, the Council leader, prepared to open the session, the main doors slid open. A hush fell over the chamber. Alan Carter walked in, followed by a small group of humans, the same Alan Carter who had walked out 3 years ago. Gasps and whispers spread through the Council. Some representatives stood up in shock. Others remained, frozen in their seats. What is the meaning of this? Demanded Rector, his scales darkening with anger. Humans are no longer welcome in this chamber. Shax raised his hand for quiet. Ambassador Carter, your presence is unexpected. Why have you returned? Alan walked calmly to the center of the chamber, exactly where he had stood 3 years earlier when announcing humanity's withdrawal. I've come to speak with the Council, he said simply. Will you hear me? Shax looked around at the other representatives, many of whom nodded. We will hear you. Alan took a deep breath. 3 years ago, I stood in this spot and told you humanity was leaving. We left because the existing structure made true cooperation impossible. He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many representatives as possible. We did not leave to start a war. We left to find a better way. Today I return not to rejoin the old Council, but to invite you to form something new. A display activated behind him, showing a star map. 47 systems were highlighted in green, systems belonging to former Council races. In the past 3 years, humanity has established direct diplomatic and trade relations with 47 former Council species. Together, we have formed the Galactic Cooperative, a new interstellar alliance based on genuine equality. The Council chamber erupted in noise. Rector jumped to his feet. Traitors, he shouted at the representatives of the highlighted systems. You have violated Council law by forming separate alliances. Alan remained calm. There is no Council law against independent relationships once a species withdraws. We checked very carefully, he continued as the noise died down. Our technology, our resources, our unique perspectives. All these we are willing to share, not as scraps from the council table, but as equal partners in galactic civilization. Frektor stormed to the center of the chamber, facing Alan directly. This is a trick, an attempt to divide the council. The Zeltari Imperium will never allow it. You tried to stop us once, Alan replied quietly. You sent 500 ships. You saw what 12 of our vessels did to your fleet. We have thousands more. The Zeltari ambassador stepped back, remembered fear in his eyes. We don't want conflict, Alan continued, but neither will we tolerate threats. The time for that is over. He turned to address the entire council again. The choice is yours. Persist in the old ways and fade into irrelevance, or join us in building something better. Shaq stepped forward. What exactly are you proposing, Ambassador Carter? A new beginning. A true alliance of equals. No single species or group controlling the rest. Decisions made by consensus, not dominance. Technology shared, not hoarded. Alan gestured to the humans standing behind him. These are our top scientists, engineers, and diplomats. They are prepared to answer any questions about the cooperative, to share information about the technologies we've developed. He smiled slightly. Yes, even the veil technology and the gravitational weapons. No more secrets. Shax looked troubled. You ask us to abandon a system that has maintained peace for thousands of years. Peace for some, Alan corrected. Subjugation for others. And it's not working anymore, you know that. Why else would 47 species have already left? As the council erupted into heated debate, Alan and his team quietly walked out. But this time, something different happened. Many representatives from other species followed them. Outside the council chamber, a large crowd had gathered. Representatives from dozens of worlds wanted to learn more about the cooperative. 6 months later, a new chamber was being constructed, on a neutral world halfway between council and cooperative space, a place where all species could meet as equals. Above the entrance, inscribed in the languages of 100 worlds, a simple phrase: progress comes not from dominance, but from diversity. Howard Patel, now Earth's president, stood with Alan Carter watching the construction. Did you ever imagine this when you walked out that day? Howard asked. Alan shook his head. I hoped for it, but no, I didn't expect things to change so quickly. The council has lost another 30 members to the cooperative since your visit, Howard said. Even the Merlani are considering joining us. And the Zeltari? Howard smiled. Still angry, still threatening, but increasingly isolated. Their Imperium is shrinking as their subject worlds declare independence. They watched as representatives from former council worlds mingled with humans, sharing ideas, making plans. Engineers from 5 different species worked together on a new ship design that combined technologies from each world. Do you think they'll ever understand why we really left? Howard asked. Alan nodded. Some already do. The rest will learn in time. Sometimes you have to walk away to show others your true value. And sometimes, Howard added, those who panic when you leave are the ones who took you for granted all along. On the steps of the new chamber, a young Zeltari diplomat, one of the few who had broken with their government, was deep in conversation with a human scientist. They were discussing an engineering problem, sketching ideas in the air. That's the future right there, Alan said, pointing to the pair. Different perspectives finding better solutions together. In orbit above the new chamber, ships from a dozen worlds patrolled together. Not as a show of force, but as a symbol of unity. Among them were several of the black human vessels that had so shocked the council. Now they flew alongside ships from other worlds, sharing their technology, training crews from other species. A signal came through on Alan's communicator. It's the Merlani High Council, he said, checking the message. They voted to join the cooperative. Howard smiled. And so it grows, not through conquest or coercion, but through choice. As the sun set on the new chamber, lights began to come on. The stars above seemed brighter somehow, as if anticipating what this new alliance might achieve. Humanity had not just survived their departure from the council, they had thrived. And in doing so, They had catalyzed a transformation of galactic society, not as conquerors but as partners, not through domination but through cooperation. The Council had panicked when humans walked out, but their panic came too late to stop what was already in motion. A new chapter in galactic history, chapter where humanity's unique gifts for innovation and adaptation became not a threat to be contained, but a strength to be celebrated.